From unexpected comebacks to knockouts that had the fighters crashing to the floor, female fighters across UFC's history have truly given us some amazing knockouts over the years. Starting off with Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey. Oh boy, let me tell you about this one. Ronda, the undefeated bantamweight champ, was the favorite going into the fight, but Holly had a few tricks up her sleeve, or should I say feet, because what Holly did was deliver a swift and brutal head kick that sent Ronda flying across the octagon like a rag doll. Ronda didn't stand a chance. She probably still has Holly's foot imprint on her face as a souvenir. It was a knockout for the ages and a reminder that in MMA, anything can happen.
Champion of the world, Holly, the Preacher's daughter,
And the same can be said for this next fight. It's Amanda Nunes versus Cris Cyborg. This fight from UFC 232 was like two freight trains colliding in the middle of the octagon. Cyborg was a beast, with muscles on top of muscles, while Nunes was the underdog with the heart of a lion. And boy did she show it. Nunes went full Rocky Balboa on Cyborg, landing a barrage of punches that made her look like she was seeing stars. It was like watching a superhero movie where the good guy finally takes down the bad guy with a single punch. Nunes became the first woman in UFC history to hold two belts at the same time. Plus, Cyborg became a cautionary tale of what can happen when you underestimate your opponent. Another amazing knockout was seen at UFC 217. Yup, I'm talking about Rose Namajunas versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. This is a classic David versus Goliath matchup. Rose Namajunas and Joanna Jędrzejczyk at UFC 217 were like watching a real-life version of the tortoise and the hare. Joanna was the confident champ with a flashy style and a mouth that wouldn't quit, while Rose was the quiet challenger with a killer instinct and a secret weapon, her hands. And she definitely did use them. Rose knocked Joanna out with a left hook that came out of nowhere, like a ninja throwing a shuriken. It was a stunning upset and a reminder that in the UFC, it's not always the loudest fighter who wins. Plus, this next fight was just as intense. It's Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Eye. It was like the ultimate showdown between two fierce competitors. From the get-go, Valentina was throwing punches like she had a score to settle. Plus, poor Jessica looked like she was trying to dodge as best as she could. She was moving around like a chicken with its head cut off, trying to find a way to get past Valentina's defenses. But Valentina wasn't having any of it. She was like a brick wall, blocking every punch and kick that came her way. It was like watching a master at work, and Jessica was just the unlucky victim caught in her crosshairs. Then, out of nowhere, Valentina unleashed a devastating head kick that sent Jessica crashing to the mat like a sack of potatoes. It was a total knockout. The crowd went wild, and even the commentators couldn't believe what they had just seen. And many fans would agree that this next fight from UFC 228 deserves a mention too. It's Jessica Andrade versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. If you ask me, this was like a battle between a raging bull and a nimble matador. Karolina was trying to dodge and weave like she was in a game of dodgeball, bobbing and weaving like her life depended on it. But I have to admit, Andrade was just too strong, throwing punches like no tomorrow. And then, like a bolt out of the blue, Andrade landed a huge punch that sent Karolina reeling. Honestly, to me, it felt like watching a light bulb shatter, with Karolina going down for the count. The crowd was going wild, and even the announcers were jumping out of their seats. All in all, it was one of the most epic fights that will go down in UFC history. But let's be real, it was also like watching a bullfight, with Andrade charging at Karolina in a blind rage. Karolina was just lucky she didn't end up on the business end of those horns. Oh, and there's another notable knockout that you'll want to know about. It's Zhang Weili versus Rose Namajunas from UFC 261. Rose Namajunas is one of the most skilled fighters in the UFC women's strawweight division. division. She has been in the game for a while and previously won the title back in 2017, but she struggled to handle the pressure of being a champion and lost the belt to Jessica Andrade in 2018. The strawweight division has been a bit unpredictable, with the belt changing hands quite often compared to other weight classes. In 2019, the belt was held by China's Zhang Weili, who was a force to be reckoned with in the division. Many believed that she would continue her reign as the strawweight queen when she faced off against Namajunas in UFC 261. But Namajunas had other plans. In a moment that would go down in UFC history, she delivered a head kick that sent Weili reeling, and then followed up with a series of devastating ground-and-pound strikes. It was a masterclass in striking and grappling, and it earned her the title of UFC champion once again. That Thug Rose's comeback was the talk of the town in 2021. She proved that she had the heart and the skill to take on the best in the division and come out on top. Though, there's another notable inclusion worthy of this list. It's Ronda Rousey versus Besh Correia. This fight was almost like a nature documentary if you ask me. Ronda Rousey played the role of the fierce lioness, and Besh Correia was cast as the helpless gazelle. Rousey was relentless in her pursuit and continued to come at Besh over and over again. Rousey was relentless in her pursuit and continued to come at Besh over and over again. Besh was trying to dodge and weave like she was in a game of Red Rover, but Ronda was just too fast and too strong. And then suddenly, Ronda landed a huge punch that sent Besh crashing. The crowd was going wild, and even the announcers were beside themselves with excitement. Ronda looked like she was performing death-defying feats of strength and athleticism. All those reasons definitely make it one of the best knockouts I've ever seen. And finally, there's one other knockout that deserves a mention, and that's Molly McCann versus Luana Carolina from UFC London. McCann is a fighter who always brings the heat. Before she joined the UFC, she had 4 knockout victories under her belt, but when she stepped into the octagon, she found it harder to put away her opponents. Instead, she relied on her volume striking to win fights, often winning by unanimous decision. That all changed at UFC London when she faced off against Luana Carolina. McCann started the fight with her usual aggression, pushing Carolina back with a relentless barrage of strikes, but in the second round, she slowed down a bit, perhaps trying to conserve her energy for the later rounds. She finished the round with a takedown that showed her grappling skills were just as impressive as her striking. In the final round, Carolina tried to use her height advantage to her benefit, engaging in a clinch with McCann, but Meatball wasn't having it. She gained some separation and unleashed a spinning elbow that connected with Carolina's jaw. It was a thing of beauty, a technique that requires incredible timing and precision. Carolina crumpled to the mat, and the crowd erupted in cheers. It was a defining moment for McCann, a fighter who had shown her toughness and resilience in the octagon time and time again. Now, she had added a spectacular knockout to her resume, proving that she could finish fights with the best of them. For the English fighter, it was a moment she would never forget, and one that cemented her place as one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC women's flyweight division. Though, that's all the best UFC female knockouts I've got for now.